Hello and welcome. I'm Javine Hall Art. Today I'm just going to be working on my Pokemon Champion Kitt fan art. We're going to continue off where we left off. Also, I'll be listening to YouTube podcast part 2 of Mackenzie Gorilla, and we'll go from there. This will be a chill session. We'll go from there. All right, let's get into it. All right, let's see here.
2022, 17-year-old Mackenzie Shirilla posts an Instagram photo and texts one of her friends named Rosie. So Mackenzie is texting her friend Rosie, I am Gia already liked. I am Gia being the clothing brand, aka this huge clothing brand liked her Instagram picture. Rosie responds, oh my god, yes, we're so famous. Mackenzie says, bro, we're gonna be famous as soon, before this year ends. This is from July 11th, 2022, just 20 days before the crash where Mackenzie drove her car into a brick building at nearly 100 miles per hour speeds, killing her boyfriend Dom in the front passenger seat and her friend Davion in the back seat. This case has since gone viral again with the release of the new Netflix documentary called The Crash, where both Mackenzie and her friend Rosie had given interviews to the documentary makers, and they do in fact become famous together. Rosie becoming one of the more hated, controversial individuals from the Netflix documentary, with people coming up with theories online that she knew ahead of time that Mackenzie was planning this crash, that she drove by the crash site and didn't call the police that morning, that she was interested in Dom. Like, there are such a wide range of theories that have been circulating. Theories upon theories about whether or not Rosie and Mackenzie are doing some sort of big cover-up. And just a lot of questions. Like, why did Rosie refuse to talk to the police, but then she went ahead and did a Netflix
welcome.
documentary? A lot of those questions are going to be answered today. Our researchers reached out to Rosie and Bubba, who was also featured in the Netflix documentary. Bubba was Davion's close friend as well as Rosie's boyfriend. And we asked all those pertinent questions. But more importantly, we also asked what actually happened that night. They were one of the last few people to see Dom and Davion alive for the last time, and they answered all of our questions. So with that, welcome to part 2 of the Mackenzie Shirilla case. We would like to thank today's sponsors who have made it possible for Rotten Mango to support Change the Game for Dom Foundation and Davion Flanagan's Memorial Scholarship Fund. Both GoFundMes are run by the families of the victims, and we're going to include all of those plus all the information regarding Dom and Davion's law, which aims to update Ohio's Son of Sam laws in order to prevent violent offenders from profiting off their crimes. All of that is going to be included in our show notes. This episode's partnerships have also made it possible to support Rotten Mango's team of dedicated researchers. We'd also like to thank you guys for your continued support. As always, full show notes are available at rottenmangopodcast.com. Today's episode involves mentions of illicit drug usage, reckless driving, driving while intoxicated, self-exit, and possible domestic violence. We did pull the FOIA for this case and literally went through tens of thousands of pages of text messages, detective incident reports, autopsy reports, photos, videos, Snapchat data, Instagram DM data, text messages, like tens of thousands of pages of text messages. So naturally, quotes and statements may be condensed for brevity. There is also a lot of discourse surrounding this case, and in order to explain the entirety of the case and the internet reception of things that have been released to the public, we are going to go over a lot of opinions, comments, and speculations made by netizens. They do not represent our own opinions.
Hey, what's up? How are you?
I will say that this case has gained a lot of attention with the Netflix documentary, The Crash, and we went through the entire case file, so this is going to be a pretty lengthy series. The Netflix documentary was about an hour and a half, and we've gone through, I don't even.
I feel like she's on the sun. She'll have
5,000 separate photos, tens of thousands of pages of text messages, 97 jail calls, totaling up to like 20 hours, hundreds of pages of police documents, 39 body cam and dash cam videos. We went through it all, and we're going to break it all down. This is going to be a 5-part series. In the first part, please go watch that first, the previous episode. We went over the crash itself, as well as the relationships of everybody
Yeah, I
in
like
the
that.
car, the relationship dynamic,
Oh,
and
okay.
generally
Yeah.
what people
Pretty
believe
good.
happened that night.
Feel free to like
In
and
this
follow
part,
to
we're
see
going to be
the
breaking down the Netflix
see his,
documentary, the social media response,
this is
as
completed
well
work.
as what we asked Rosie and Bubba and what they've responded, and all of the things that happened. It was like a 2-hour long conversation asking them pretty much every single question that the internet had for them. In part 3, we're going to be breaking down the main relationships within the Shirilla family. There's been a lot of allegations and rumors and just conspiracy theories circulating online
That's good enough.
Mackenzie had a very strange relationship with her dad, where she would text him in the middle of the night asking for warm milk, and people think warm milk is a code for something else, and there's just a lot to unpack there. That's going to be part 3.
What?
In
That
part
is
4,
weird.
it's going to be the entire breakdown, the journey of Mackenzie and Dom's
Okay, there we go.
relationship through their text messages from 2020 and then leading up to
Like
the
that.
crash.
Okay.
And part 5 will be all the jail calls, as well as Mackenzie's prison
add some
girlfriends who have
highlights
come
and
out on
stuff,
TikTok to
start
talk
adding
about what their
shadows.
experience was like dating Mackenzie in prison. And she would call herself, allegedly, she said that people called her Shirilla the Killer. So, with that being said, let's get started. November 4th, 2022, 4 months after the crash that killed Dom and Davian, Mackenzie is on the way back from physical therapy. She's in the passenger seat. Her mom, Natalie, is driving, and they get pulled over. Mackenzie has her phone out. She's like recording all of this. Her camera is pointed primarily at the side mirror of the passenger side car, so you can see an officer in the mirror walk up to the car. He says, "Hi, Mackenzie," and snatches the phone out of Mackenzie's hand, and you hear her whining, "Don't touch my phone! You're under arrest." Why? "We have a warrant for your arrest. Come on out." Why? They get her out of the car, they cuff her, and they put her in the back of the police car.
Wait, they arrested her in the middle of the road?
Yeah, they pulled her over on that.
What?
Yeah.
So did she know
That's
what
crazy.
she thought it was a traffic stop?
It seems like they thought it was a traffic stop.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every
You're under
week it's
arrest for
fashion week
aggravated
for
murder
me.
times 2.
The boom,
The officer starts taking off one of her handcuffs.
Thank you.
Could you please be careful
Appreciate
taking this one
You got
off
it.
so it doesn't break the bracelet,
You
please?
got it.
Yeah,
You
we're
got it.
about time
And
to
she
arrest her.
starts sniffling
So I'm
while
also
thanking
watching a
him.
podcast.
It's interesting. This whole bracelet thing becomes like a whole point of contention. Again, as she's getting booked, the officers are talking to
Oh, I
her.
forgot to change.
I'm gonna take your handcuffs off. I need like all
I
of
like
your
this.
everything to come off, okay?
They changed the way I use ingredients
No,
on
I
here.
need you to take it off while
I
you're
do not
right
like
now.
that.
Unfortunately,
That's not a simple
everything's gonna have to
ingredient.
come off right now once we know when the detective comes back and we know for sure what's going on. Everything's gonna be bagged up here. It's not going anywhere.
She starts trying to take off her bracelets, and they look like the, you know,
Oh,
those
let's
like
check if
rubber
there's,
Live Strong bracelets that used to be big back in the day, but I don't think they're Live Strong. They're like the rubber bracelets. And later, it's been explained from Mackenzie's side and Mackenzie's friends and family that these bracelets were all sentimentally
Divine
connected
art. Thank
to
you so
Dawn,
much.
and she hadn't taken them off
T4.
since the crash, and that's why she was crying. But a lot of people have interpreted as, how are you crying about a bracelet when you're being arrested for murder times 2?
Let's do this!
Prepare for a movie event so big
So
Welcome to
that's
Dino Island.
you won't
Similar.
believe your eyes.
That
Let's see if this
would never
works.
happen at the museum.
On this Friday,
Let's get this
I
party
don't like this.
started.
Okay, there we go.
Come on, we've got dinos to save.
That kind of works.
Those dinosaurs ate all my pup treats.
Talk about morning breath.
Paw Patrol, the Dino movie, only in theaters Friday.
We're fine, right?
Have you ever wondered if a
Mhm.
fire gets lonely? Maybe you think about a watch that doesn't just tell
Oh,
time,
brother.
but controls it. Or you wonder what life would be like with a face only a mother could love.
What? That's nice. Yeah. You know,
With Sea
Art
Dance
or something?
2.5 on runway,
Frog here. Hello,
if
welcome
you
back.
can imagine it, you can create it.
Either way, she's
Sorry,
very
I missed
distraught
something.
about
Sounds
taking
like
them
yummy
off.
art, nice
They
art.
notice
Thank you,
that she also
appreciate
has
that.
extensions,
You
which
know
she informs them
at
that she cannot
Art
take
or
them out
something?
unless they have pliers.
What are the
My art account?
are those extensions?
Thank you. Thanks for the likes.
We're gonna need
Appreciate
to
that.
take those out.
them out. They're like in my, they're like, unless you apply.
You can follow me on
After
Instagram,
Mackenzie's
Tumblr, TikTok,
arrest,
Twitch,
there's some
YouTube, and
interesting
Patreon.
body cam
Most good
footage that
stuff.
was in the
Yeah.
FOIA
Same
file.
username right here.
Her dad, Steve, marches down to the police station, and he honestly looks like a chill dad, right? So he's got like a kind of white-haired beard with like a full head of like whitish gray hair, and he dresses super relaxed. He's an art teacher. He almost dresses kind of like a kid. I don't know how to describe it. He's not overly stuffy. He's not wearing polos. It doesn't look like he's obsessed with golfing on the weekends. He seems like he's a little bit more creative in that aspect. And I don't mean that as a compliment. I don't really ever want to compliment him, but he walks into the police station. Obviously, understandably, this is a highly emotionally charged moment, but he's using his hands to passionately talk, yell at the police officers.
I need to speak to my daughter because you guys aren't allowed to speak to her at all. That's from the lawyer. He does not want you guys speaking to her. And I can get him on the phone, and he can tell you that over the phone if that works, or I can go in and tell her not to open her mouth. But how you guys did this on the weekend is just, what all you do is go, hey, there's a warrant for her. We would have brought her right down here with no problem. But you hit it. It's just unbelievable. I mean, she's 18.
So the warrant was issued today, so we executed it today.
If he had to roll out the whole mask to pick up an 18-year-old girl who can hardly walk out of a hospital visit, it's just beyond me.
Yeah, Steve, lots of things are apparently beyond you, like common sense and good parenting. Opinion that I strongly hold. Steve aggressively asks the officers.
Am I going to be allowed to have a 2-minute conversation with her?
You cannot talk to her while she's here, no.
Why doesn't she get a phone call? If you arrest her, why don't she get a phone call?
Which, like, goddamn, your daughter is not special in anyone else's eyes but your own. Like, this is the process that they have to go through. The officer has to explain and spell it out to Steve Shirilla. She was just brought in. They're going to process her. As soon as they get the time for her to make a phone call, she'll be able to make a phone call. We just need to advise her that she has a lawyer. She's 18 years old, and she could speak that.
She's a dumb 18-year-old that just turned 18, and you guys are, no, all the kids nowadays are dumb.
Sure, Steve, if that helps you sleep better at night, okay? Just know that most of us didn't get into a fatal car crash that took two lives at 18 years old. 17, basically 18, but I digress. Steve continues angrily, telling the officers.
And these guys are going to take advantage of her. She's not allowed to speak to you guys. I'm telling you that.
Her attorney can call us.
Don't ask her any questions.
The officer straight up walks away.
Thanks for sharing
Closes
life.
the door
Appreciate
while
that.
Steve is still screaming. Steve Shirilla is still screaming. He's like, don't ask her any questions. She's not allowed to speak to you. The officer is clearly unbothered, and this is through his body cam. So it's like we just have the perspective of his chest. Yeah. And he just walks to the back room where all the other cops are. He walks to his desk, and he says, ay, ay, ay. And he grabs his bag of Cool Ranch Dorito and starts snacking.
Ay, ay, ay.
Wait.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just removed himself from that.
Yeah, he's like, ay, ay, ay. And just started snacking on Doritos in the back. I just think the Shirilla parents, the Netflix documentary, we'll get into it in a second, but they are just like massive complainers. They like to complain about everything. Even on Netflix, they're complaining. I don't know why they needed 9 or 10 cars to roll up on an 18, 17-year-old girl. Prosecution needed a show, and they wanted to put on a pageant. In the Netflix documentary, Mackenzie's parents also say, Natalie and Steve also say, we were just like in shock. Murder?
That's crazy.
So they're in shock that she was arrested for murder. Not reckless driving, not vehicular homicide, murder. Mm-hmm. Steve says, good luck proving it. There's no, what proof? What proof do they have of any of this? I know it's become almost like an online joke at this point that documentary filmmakers love to give us an empty chair when introducing their next guest to talk, and then having that guest dramatically sit down on the chair before looking directly into the camera, breaking the fourth wall, and then starting with their opening line of like, let me tell you about that night, you know? That is exactly what they do with Mackenzie in the Netflix documentary. But the part that the internet is freaking out over is not the slightly played out dramatic empty chair sit down, but rather the way Mackenzie sits down. She walks into frame, prison uniform, hair tied up with a bun the size of a cantaloupe on top of her head. She's a full face of makeup, and she almost like pops out her hip, arches her back as she sits down on the chair. She clasps her hands in front of her and almost like smirks to the camera. Like it's just like a very weird, she's looking directly at us.
She needs to be
the
in
internet
jail.
Points out she looks like she's on a
Thanks for
coffee
the follow.
date
Appreciate
rather
that.
than a documentary interview about how she killed 2 people. She sits down. The producer asks her, so could you tell me why you want to give this interview, Mackenzie? I've never spoke before. I never told my side of the story. I understand there's many different sides to the story and different perspectives, but I just want to say my truth, and I just know myself, and I know I'm not a monster. What do you think happened to the crash? Through all the evidence that has been presented, the most logical speculation seems to be a medical emergency. This like sentence itself is, she sat in her cell memorizing this from her attorney, because I have read through so many thousands upon thousands of pages of Mackenzie texting and audio messaging people, and she does not speak in this manner.
Thanks for the follow.
This is
Appreciate
like,
that.
this is, my lawyer told me to say this for this documentary. How does a
Lougie
medical
7?
emergency account for the control of the car? So she's like, the most
Just
logical
saving here
reason
real quick.
is a medical emergency. So they're like, how are you able to control the car then if it's a medical emergency? And she says, I'm unsure, because I have no recollection of that morning, but I know nothing about it was intentional. The interview with Mackenzie is short, or at least the included parts with Mackenzie. I mean, she's not really saying anything of value other than trying to convince the viewers at home that she's a good person, which, I mean, I guess it's up to you to decide, right? But she says she still has no memory. She thinks it's a medical emergency. What medical emergency? She doesn't know, because she doesn't remember anything. But she says she's grown and she's remorseful for all the things that she clearly doesn't remember. She says about her relationship with Dom, we were just two kids messing with each other, and then as the years went on and we stayed together and grew closer, we would have probably been married by now. He was just so protective and loving over me. I just wanted to heal him and he wanted to heal me. We were partners. We just took care of each other. I mean, we argued. We got back together. We broke up. We got back together. It was rocky, but it was good. It was just, we were in love, young love. She says it's really hard every day here. I try to wake up and be the best person I can be every day, stay out of trouble. There's not a moment that doesn't pass where I don't think about them, or I don't feel a pain in my chest that it's still like the void of losing them. And near the end, the producer asks her, is there any last word that you'd like to say? And she turns to her right, and she's like looking at someone off the camera. It's her lawyer. They let us know. They're like, she's looking at her lawyer, right? Her lawyer was present. She goes, did I touch on that? Okay, so everything is like you think. I don't want to force anything and just say too much or sound crazy. I just want to make sure that I'm big on the no intent. There was no intent whatsoever there. I have excessive amounts of remorse for Dom, Davion, both of their families. This was not intentional, and I will do everything I can to prove that to the world and the families.
Work on the eyes. Try to make them glow.
Every revolution comes with a little suspicion. Machines will
They
take
take
our
some liberties
jobs.
here.
Then people said that machines will make horses obsolete. And then came, oh yeah, computers will take over the world.
There we go. That
And
working? I
now
think that's kind of working.
it's AI will replace humans. Maybe. But we believe nothing can replace humans because we understand that oftentimes all you really want is an answer from a real person who knows what they're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about. Papaya Global. You'll never work alone.
I think that's working.
And that's it.
That was weird.
Yeah.
Is that like a fourth wall breaking moment? Like she's...
That was so weird. And the only thing the internet can really get out of this is, first of all, the sit down of her sitting on that chair was crazy. Her hair is crazy. And the fact that she said, I'm big on the no intent, is just like, people are having their minds blown on TikTok over that line. Yeah. What do you mean you're big on the no intent? What do you mean by that? The Netflix documentary also sat down with Dom and Davion's family members. They focused a lot on the pain that the family members had to endure losing Dom and Davion, and it felt very transparent in the sense of the families of both those boys felt really vulnerable in sharing their journey of finding out that they lost their babies, essentially their children, to then feeling relieved that at least another child was able to survive, that Mackenzie was alive and in surgery. There was almost like a relief.
Really?
Because it's like, okay, at least,
wow,
you know? And then feeling confused because they're like, wait, nothing is adding up about this car crash. Like, it doesn't make sense. Her behavior isn't making any sense. They're not getting the answers that they so desperately need and deserve. And then they see this evidence and then all of the complicated just evolution of all these feelings. Dom and Davion's sisters have been using their platforms to showcase Dom and Davion's lives as well. And they were both included in the documentary. And it's just so frustrating to see the grace and composure that both Dom and Davion's family members held in this entire documentary, juxtaposed to the Sharilla parents. Mackenzie's parents, Natalie and Steve, who come off incredibly tone deaf, entitled, and just fucking dense. I don't really know how else to put it, okay? They just are not likable either, and they seem like enablers. The documentary also brought in a few of Mackenzie's friends who have since gone viral, and there were just a lot of moments where it feels like just watching the documentary, from the perspective of just watching the documentary, it feels like you're on a different planet from the people that are on the screen talking, because you're like, there's no way they just said that. There's no way any of this is real. For example, one of Mackenzie's friends, Faith, states in the documentary that essentially she cannot see Mackenzie intentionally crashing that car because she can't imagine Mackenzie ever hurting herself. Like, that's just not Mackenzie. She says Kenzie loves herself a lot. She wouldn't even have a McChicken with me at McDonald's because she cared so much about her own health. I don't feel like somebody like that, who cares so much about their body and so much about themselves and, you know, how they're doing, would be suicidal. Apparently, a McChicken from McDonald's is some sort of litmus test now. The documentary also brought in two of Mackenzie's friends that were there at the gathering that Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion left. And that was the drive home where the car crashed. Rosie and Bubba, they were there and they were interviewed. But before we do that, let's run through the night of July 30th and the early morning of July 31st, 2022. Mackenzie and Davion had both graduated high school, so they're going to like a series of graduation parties. Now, in part one, I told you guys that Davion is staying with Dom while his parents are out of town on vacation because he just started a new job. He couldn't go on the family vacation. Mackenzie is basically living with Dom, even though she's 17. So naturally, it makes sense that the three of them decide to go to a few grad parties together. They live together, they take one car. Mackenzie and Davion graduated. Dom is dating Mackenzie. The first stop is Kelly's. They get to this girl named Kelly's house at around 10 p.m. Kelly speaks with detectives and she tells them, okay, it really wasn't like a crazy grad party or anything. My mom was there the entire time. In fact, her mom is in the interview.
I think it was like the kind of party they were expecting, because I told them like not a lot of people are going to be here. Like we're all just, it's just like close friends and we're just chilling out, like, you know.
And she says Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion get there and they're just kind of sitting off to the side for a little bit before Mackenzie asks Kelly, hey, come here.
And she was like, do you trip? Which meaning like, do you do acid? And I was like, no, I don't do that. And like, I was like, especially like my mom's here, like I don't want to do that. Like I feel like she was like asking, she didn't say the words, but I felt like she was asking me if I wanted to trip with them at my house.
Kelly kind of thinks it's weird because Mackenzie knows that her mom is home, and like that's just not the vibe right now. That's just not the energy. So she's not trying to do that right now, right here. The conversation pivots, but Kelly still hears Mackenzie and Dom making plans about maybe going to some guy named Mark's house and saying things like, should we do it tonight? Should we do it tonight? So it sounds like to Kelly that they're debating whether or not they want to do shrooms or trip or whatever. And then within 20 minutes, they leave. And Kelly's like, she gets it. She says that she thinks the three of them were maybe expecting like a party. And it was just more so Kelly and her friends hanging out and her mom was home. And it was just more like a chill gathering. So they leave Kelly's and they actually head over to a different guy's house, Paul's house. The police interview Paul. And he says he's technically Mackenzie's friend. So they're just trying to get like, how do you guys all know each other? And he's like, well, okay. So Paul is best friends with Rosie, who's in the documentary.
Okay.
And Rosie started hanging out with Mackenzie a few months ago, but also Paul has his own connection with Mackenzie because senior year, they both tried to do, he wanted to be homecoming king, she was trying to be homecoming queen. So he says that she really helped boost his confidence during that time. So he's got his own like friendship with Mackenzie. So he's closest with Mackenzie. He's not really close with Dom. It seems like he's familiar with Davion, if not friends with Davion, right? Now, Mackenzie just happens to bring Dom everywhere she goes, and Davion is currently also staying with Dom. And Rosie's boyfriend, Bubba, he's super close with Davion. I'm gonna make it clear later, but just like hold on to it. And Paul says everyone loves Davion, which, side note, Kelly, the host of the grad party right before, she says the same thing. Kelly says about Davion,
all I know is that he is a good kid. Like, he just tries to make friends everywhere. Like, I know that he was just always trying to do something, get out the house, be with his friends, and just be himself.
It's just something consistent that I've observed throughout all of the police interviews. Everyone goes out of their way to explain how much Davion meant to them, and it doesn't feel forced or calculated, but more so I think he just like had that big of an impact on everyone. So unprompted, a lot of people will just tell the police, like, I mean, he's like an incredible person. Just so friendly, so chill. Like, everybody loves him. Davion's mom says, you know, I would always say that he had an old soul because he was just wise beyond his years, just in a lot of ways because he's had so much experience in his short life. And again, we're going to go in depth on Davion's family and what they've said, their foundation, in a later episode. So one interesting thing to note is Paul tells investigators that he refuses to ever ride in Mackenzie's car. In general, she's just a horrible driver. The police are like, what do you mean by that?
I always knew she would get in fights, like her neighbor, or she got in her fight with her neighbor about zooming past the stop sign. One time at the carnival, she was gonna drive me home, but I was like, no.
Sorry.
It's okay. I just said, no, I'm good.
Paul says even Rosie, the one from the documentary, told him, like, don't get in the car with Mackenzie. She's not a good driver.
Wow, that is crazy.
Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, tell us about the gathering. Because they leave your house, and that's when Mackenzie crashes the car.
Oh, they were at Paul's house till 5 in the morning?
Yes.
Okay.
So Paul is like, okay, well, that whole day, before they came over, you know, I was at work the entire day. So when I finally got back home, I was really tired. But I had to do something. That's like the vibe he gives. Like, I had to do something because my parents were out of town.
And I had 6 people over, so in my opinion, that was not a party. There was no party activities going on because I don't have enough friends to throw a banger, I'm gonna be honest.
He says it was him, so it's Paul, another friend named Nina, Rosie, Rosie's boyfriend Bubba. Bubba is close friends with Davion. Rosie is now hanging out a lot with Mackenzie, and Mackenzie brought Dom, so it's 7 people. Paul, Nina, Rosie, Bubba, Davion, Mackenzie, and Dom. Rosie, Nina, and Bubba show up at around 11 p.m. Mackenzie, Dom, and Davion get there closer to midnight because they were at like a different grad party. They were just grad party hopping. And it was a chill night for about an hour. Paul says, you know, earlier that day he was kind of in a shitty mood because he did also break, like his whole car broke down. So he was working, his car broke down, he's not in the best mood. So he decides after chilling for an hour that he's just gonna go to sleep. So he goes upstairs, leaves everybody downstairs because his parents aren't home, they're out of town. He goes upstairs and quote,
I go upstairs at around 1.
Oh.
They're still up and they're still
Thanks for
watching.
the follow.
I
Appreciate
remember
that.
hearing South Park
Welcome.
playing really loudly. And
It's
then
a chill stream.
I went downstairs again at 2, 3 a.m. to pee, sometime like that. And I saw Kenzie asleep on my couch in my front room when I saw that. But yeah, I don't think there was any fighting or anything like that going on at all. Or at least that's what I saw.
he says they all did smoke weed. They talked about doing shrooms, but they didn't end up doing the shrooms. So he's like, I don't know. Like, I went upstairs. When I came down at like 2, 3 a.m., Mackenzie was asleep, and I didn't witness any fighting or anything weird. The next morning, he wakes up at around 10 a.m. to Rosie calling him and telling him that there had been a car crash. When authorities arrive to the car crash, they extract Mackenzie. They find in her possession, on her person, a baggie filled with shrooms. And there are messages that police get between Rosie and Mackenzie that night. So before Mackenzie shows up to Paul's house. 6 p.m., Mackenzie asks Rosie about going to Paul's. Do you think it's cool to trip there? So Mackenzie's like, do you think it's, can I go and trip there? Rosie says, yeah. Okay, I'm trusting you. His parents aren't tweaks like Bubba. They would probably let him have people over. Mackenzie is unsure if she's actually going to end up at Paul's, so she's still kind of debating, and then she's like, is it okay to trip there? Rosie's like, for sure. Rosie texts, could we still buy off Dom if you guys don't want to trip? You should come hang out for like a little smoke or whatever. Okay, bet. Like, what do you need? We might come. So Rosie says, yes, me, Paul, Nina, and Bubba need them, and some bud. Do you not want to trip? Did you guys already trip at the zoo today? And Mackenzie's saying, like, we're not really sure because it's already so late. Dom says no, and we were going to, but we didn't. But yeah, we can give you guys that. Mackenzie texts at 10:24 p.m. We're probably going to come. So like last minute, she's like, okay, we're going to come. Rosie says, okay, cool. And so we want $40 worth of bud, and Bubba wants 3, and I want 2.5. Nina wants 1.5, and Paul wants 2.5. So the grams, it's referenced to shrooms. So they want $40 worth of weed, and then everybody wants like different amounts of shrooms. Rosie is saying Nina claims she just wants a gram. And then Mackenzie is saying, Brett, tell her more. Like a gram is, it sounds like she's saying a gram is not going to get you there. So Rosie responds, okay, fine. She said like 1.5. Okay, bet. Okay, we're all at Paul's.
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you today?
Okay,
Your
send
name
me
is
Paul's address. I'm on the way. So they send the address. They meet up. They get to Paul's house. And like all we have once everybody is at Paul's house is what everybody says happens at Paul's house. And Paul is like, I was asleep for most of it. And then at 5:30 a.m., Davion, remember he has the Life 360 app connected to his friends. His app shows him leaving Paul's house. It's Mackenzie driving, Dom in the front
How are
passenger
you?
seat,
Thanks
Davion
for
in the
asking the live.
back.
Appreciate that.
5 minutes later, the car
No
slams
worries.
into
It's
a
all
building
cool.
at nearly 100 miles per hour.
This is a
A
chill
few
session.
things to note about this timeline. A lot of
Just
people do
having
think it's
fun
odd
here.
that they left Paul's house at 5:30 in the morning. It's not like Paul's parents were
I'm just
coming
trying to
home,
figure
so
out
they're like,
these
oh, we
highlights
gotta
and
all get out of
shadows.
here before my parents come
Fully
back.
adding stuff.
It just seems like a very early time for them to get up and get out. It's been reported to detectives that Mackenzie fell
Chill
asleep at some
stream.
point. She doesn't necessarily strike me as the accommodating type of person who will wake up from her slumber to drive Dom and Davion home. Or maybe she woke up and was like, I'm uncomfortable, I want to go sleep in a bed. I don't know. I mean, some people also think she's not really, doesn't strike them as a early bird, so why go home at 5:30?
Do you know if they have jobs or any places to go to?
Yeah, so they had places to go to, but all kind of within each other. It doesn't seem that Mackenzie and Dom had any strong plans that morning, but Davion was actually going to go hang out with Bubba again to fix up Bubba's car.
Okay.
It's like actually a whole thing because he was going to go